Hey everybody, Phil Easy here. Today I'm going to take you through making a garlic jig. That's the best word I got for it, but basically a very simple tool that's going to help you increase the volume and just make everything so much easier with planting garlic. It's that time of year. So I have a design here that I did. This is prototype number 1. I'm going to be doing a new one this year, and I thought I'd record it and show you guys how I build this, how simple and easy it is. I highly recommend you do this if you're planting more than 20, 30 bulbs of garlic and you don't want to do it by hand. So thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, smash the thumbs up, tell your friends about this. Let's go. Okay, so here's basically everything we're going to need. It's really simple. We're going to need the saw to cut the pieces of dowel or wood. Find yourself, I usually save broken broomsticks, handles from rakes, etc. Talk to people. There's going to be people with them lying around. This is a really cheap, easy way to get your materials. We're going to cut each one of these to 3 inches, and that'll be the depth that the cloves will be planted at. You could go shallower if you happen to not get a lot of frost where you live, or I wouldn't go much deeper though, or shallower if you do a ton of mulch on top. But for me, 3 inches plus about 1 inch or 2 of mulch is what I've had success with. So dowel, saw to cut the pieces, tape measure of course to measure everything out, pencil to mark things, screws to screw the dowels with the drill into the piece of plywood here. And I also have this level, but I'm not using it for the level purpose. You'll see me later, it's where an easy way to mark things out. So that's everything we're going to need to do this. Now we're going to get started. The reason why I'm doing a new one here this year and going with prototype number 2, I'll show you the difference a little bit here, is I'm going to go a little bit wider. I find 2 of these wide is good, but I think it will be more efficient and I can handle the increase in weight of the tool to go 3, maybe even 4 wide. So I think I'm going to go 4, but the real reason why I wanted to do this year is I had discovered and read and researched that I can plant my garlic a heck of a lot closer. So right now we're at a 7-inch width here on all spacings. I'm going to reduce that to 4 inches. Check out one of my videos above here where I discovered how close garlic can grow together and still turn out quite large. So yeah, 4 inches is where I'm going to go in terms of my spacing, and 3 inches on the depth of each of these dowels. Now I'm just going to lay it out and we'll go from there. So the nice thing about this design is the 4-foot wide sheet of plywood is what I use. The beds are 4 feet wide, so this happens to be 4 feet, and then you just get the width dimension that you need. So quite often it's pretty easy to come by some cutoffs where you got this little bit of extra material, and I just happened to pick this up from a project that I was working on before. So now I'm going to lay out some markings every 4 inches, both lengthwise and widthwise. And then we'll start some initial screws and go from there. So because my garden beds are 4 feet wide and I'm using a 4-foot wide piece of plywood, I've done some math, and basically I'm going to come in 2 inches from the edge. That gives us a good starting point, or a good stable starting point for the first dowel, and then we're going to go every 4 inches from there. So I'm going to go 2 to 6 to 10, 14, 18, 22, 26, you get the idea. And I'll do this on both sides. Next step is to figure out how many dowels across you want to go. Now keep in mind, the wider the piece of plywood, the more number of dowels, the heavier this jig is going to get. So yes, you'll be able to get more holes made at once, but there's a balance point there. I've done some math. I happen to have a 15-inch wide piece of scrap plywood I grabbed here. So the math works out to, if I come in 1.5 inches on either side, then I'm able to space every 4. So I'm going to line up the 2 marks I made here, and come in at, sorry about that, come in at the, if we got 15 there, we're going to come in at the 1.5. First one, we're going to go with the 5.5, 9.5, 13.5. There we go. And that's, we're going to repeat that process going down the line for each one of the marks that I put on the outside edge here. Another thing I did to make it real easy for me is I happened to mark out in the pencil on my measure here where the 4-inch spaces are. The other thing I just discovered that was a really big benefit was instead of using pencil marking this, once I really figured out my math, I just used some marker and I was able to just dab it on the marks that I needed. And it's very clear where I need to be drilling through. So now we start with the drilling. Oh, we got to cut those dowels first. Basically a whole bunch of, oh, there we go. Yeah. So mark it, cut it, a whole bunch of them, count how many you need, get them all cut up first, go from there. Here's where I cheat. Hey, don't forget the hearing and eye protection if you're going to use one of these things. Always a good idea to pay attention as you're going. There we go, I went 4 inches there for some reason. Oops. I was also thinking, a good saying I've always heard from carpenters or people who work with wood is to always measure twice and cut once. So the next step for me is to put some screws in. And what I'll do is I'll find my marks. I'm going to put the screw in far enough that it just pokes through the other edge. You can feel it with your finger. Once you've already screwed, don't leave your finger there or else you'll screw right into it. If it's too far, then you can always back it out slightly. So I'm going to put a few of those in, get myself ready for the first row. The reason why I want the point sticking out a little bit is to allow me to jam the end of the dowel onto it and it will sit in the right place when I go to screw it from the top. Maybe you can see it there, but there's the tips of the screws coming through. So what I will do now is I'll stick the dowel, center it on that tip, so you can see a bit of the dowel under there. I'm holding that in place with my hand as I screw here. Now it's centered in the dowel, I can tell because the dowel is starting to spin, so I'm going to have to hold the dowel now with my hand as I go here. There we go. Steady the dowel while I start the screw in. Hold the dowel once I feel it spinning and I know that the screw's in the right spot. Carefully don't hold your hand up in too tight or else you can pinch your skin as the dowel comes in. We'll do one more now. So again, I find that little spot in the center. I'll push this on. That keeps it centered. Even keeps it there technically. Not that strong though, that's why I reinforce it with my hands or hand. Keep that in position while I start the screw. Once it starts to spin, I'll grab that dowel. Watch that you don't pinch yourself at the end. Now I'm going to repeat that process all the way down. Alright, the dowel's starting to split, so I'm going to get that drill bit after all, and we're going to pre-drill the dowels. Turns out taking the time to pre-drill these is going to be worth it. So, oops. Less chance of splitting. This one had already started to split as I put the screw in the other end, so I don't really want to lose dowels to that. There's only so much I have, so I'm going to go through and pre-drill all these all at once. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got a whole bunch of screws put into the top and I got them just through. But one of the tips I'd have at this stage or right before would be get some end stability on. I put a couple in the middle and I put a couple on the other end, and then I stood the whole unit up on the table and I was able to then have the clearance underneath to drill the screws in or screw the screws in and then feel for the tips sticking through, so then I can use the dowels that are now pre-drilled and finish everything off. So what I'm finding works best technique-wise is to have the board up on its end like this, have the dowel in one hand, drill in the other hand. Now I can see all the tips sticking through of the screws. I'll line up the dowel hole with the tip of the screw, and then I can provide the counter force. Hold the dowel in nice and tight. I can feel it all the way in. So there you go, everybody. That's how I put together a simple garlic jig. Easy. We went from prototype number 1, which is a 7x2 footprint, so 14 holes per step, up to the Big Daddy, 4x12, 48 holes per footprint. Check out my video above here, and you'll be able to see this one in action. Show you how to use this, but basically you're gonna put her down on the ground, step on it, jump, make sure it settles. You're gonna have that many holes, how many ever of those holes you ended up making, and then you move it forward. You realign the last row with the first row, and it lines you up, so you just basically redo one row of holes and have the other ones on the go. So thanks again for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, smash the thumbs up. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.